Hey guys, I'd make an ACS Radical here. So, I have a confession to make. I may be one of very few, it seems these days, based on what I read, what seems to be popular right now, what's really trending and all that jazz. I might be one of the people that just doesn't care for streaming, that doesn't care for esports in terms of watching them. Obviously, I've been noticing that Fortnite specifically has been an absolute juggernaut when it comes to streaming views and all that stuff on Twitch. Obviously, Overwatch League is doing really well. I'm seeing stories left and right about that. All that stuff in general, I don't know, man. Like, it's been an absolute struggle for me to get into that stuff. Now, there's a difference I find between Let's Plays and streams, because I can still watch Let's Plays here and there. I can't watch as many as I used to, mostly because I just don't have the time to, and I would rather be doing something else now. But I find that with a Let's Play, they're A, shorter, and B, they'll end up usually putting in the best of stuff in there rather than, hours and hours, like at least a couple of hours worth of what ends up being a lot of nothing. So yeah, let's go with that. Like, starting with streaming, essentially, it comes down to the point that there's a lot of dead air. When it comes to either guys stopping whatever they're doing to read, their how many ever shout outs that happen, all the donations and stuff. It's a constant interruption. I can't stand it. It's I'm not sitting there saying like, oh, I don't want people to donate. Of course I don't want people to fucking not donate to the people they're supporting. I mean, obviously that would be ridiculous of me to say. But if you're just looking to watch someone play a game, it's really difficult to get that when you're watching them stop every 15-20 seconds to say, oh, thank you so and so for donating $5, blah blah blah, whatever, and doing their usual gimmicks. It's also, I hate repetition. So whenever I hear somebody saying the same line, because you got guys that whenever somebody subscribes or gives them a donation, they always say like the same kind of line over and over again. It does eventually start to grind on me, and in the end it makes it really easy for me to shut it off. But I think, yeah, in more or less, it's just all the dead air. I've watched guys doing, say, Minecraft streams or Overwatch streams. I've done a little bit of Fortnite or PUBG and stuff like that. I don't know, man. There's so much dead time in a lot of these games, and this is even including guys who are playing like Hearthstone, guys who are playing like JRPGs. I can go all over the place that I've tried watching, and in all honesty, it's just, there's no value in it because you're not getting the stuff that's really fun up until really random times later in the Let's Play where it doesn't have that value anymore. Like, I can watch a 20-minute Let's Play and get at least a few good funny moments, whereas if I'm watching on a stream, if I'm having to sit there and watch a full stream, like, we're talking 4 hours, and a lot of it, is not going to be interesting moments. It's going to just be like either silence, just dead air where nothing's really happening, or it's just the same stuff. And I guess I don't value streaming in the same way that I think a lot of people do, where it's more something they have in the background. It's something they feel like they're hanging out with that person, where I don't really have that intrinsic value towards streaming. Like, I don't really watch that kind of content just to kind of hang out with people. Like, that to me is something that could be better spent, actually playing a game with my friends rather than watching somebody play a game and try to act like they're my friend. And I know in some cases it can go that way, but I'm not going to sit here and go on a stream with somebody that's got multiple hundreds of subscribers and stuff and think that all of a sudden I'm going to get in close and he's going to be chatting with me for a while. I mean, I might get a shout out here and there, but that's not good enough bang for my buck to me. I'd rather, have the opportunity to just be able to speak the entire time rather than to hope to God after typing 20 different things in the chat that he or she reacts once to it. That doesn't sound like it's worth my time, you know what I mean? When it comes to esports as well, it's a similar basis, but I think it's more in that a lot of the game is played the same way. There's obviously strategies involved where, people are going to certain areas. They know how to play a certain way, and it gets a little bit samey, but I think most of all esports really does is just make me want to play the game rather than watch it. I think that's been my biggest problem when it comes to esports, is that all I want to do is just play. And I think that's where the biggest problem comes in when it comes to me watching streams or esports, is that I don't find the value in watching somebody play video games for over an hour when I could literally just be playing video games for an hour. I could be getting an experience that I would normally get. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule. Like, I'll watch a little bit of Evo here and there because it's fighting games. I don't really play a lot of fighting games because I'm not great at them, and it's fun to watch people do infinite combos. Now, when I mention stuff like Overwatch League and other esports like that, it's not saying that I wouldn't ever watch it, but it's very sparingly. And a lot of the time, it has to just be something that I watch in passing. I don't normally go out of my way to watch that sort of thing, so it's hard to say that that's ever a method I would go to or ever an outlet I would go to. The one real big exception I find has been the Games Done Quick streams, and I think that's for a multitude of reasons. One, it's only twice a year. Two, it's speed runs, and speed runs tend to be a lot more exciting when you got games that are, they're shorter. Because, I don't find the value. Like, I was still interested, say, watching the Final Fantasy VI speed run from last year, I believe it was. But it was still three hours and change, I believe. There's still a lot of dead time in it. But watching somebody finish Super Mario World without using any power-ups in, I think it was like less than 20 minutes, that shit's crazy because it's constant. You're always seeing something, and my God, is it like making you feel like, oh my God, I'm terrible at this game compared to this guy. Holy crap. It's stuff like that you don't normally get to see. When I watch a stream, I'm seeing somebody play it very similarly to how I'm playing it. If I'm watching esports, sure, I may not be as good as these guys, but I'm still watching somebody play a game that's very much in the same manner that I would. They're just quicker on the draw, you know what I mean? So, I don't know that, watching streams or watching esports is really my thing. I don't personally get why people literally, like, get home and just sit down and watch Twitch all day. Like, that to me, I'm not saying you're wasting your time, but my brain just sits there and thinks, you know what I could be doing with that time? Like, I could be playing that very game, or I could be finishing another game, or I could be, doing my own content and stuff like that. Now, I know there are people that obviously do it, as something in the background, like say they're doing their homework, or, they're doing whatever else, right? Like, they just have it on in the background, and I think that's fine. But I know that there are people that literally will just get on and watch the stream and will go for 6 hours and just kind of sit there. And it's just like, you got to find some sort of balance to it, I think. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're being an idiot or you're being wrong or whatever. Just from my perspective, I'm looking at that thinking, man, like, I'm not getting my bang for my buck, especially if I'm donating all the time. Like, I don't feel like watching someone who is not constantly on the ball and constantly making good jokes or playing really well. Like, I don't find the value of ever donating to that, at least not into the amount that I see some people do, where it's just like, holy crap, dude. Like, that's money you could be spending on stuff to help you. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that all these content creators don't deserve money for what they do. Because obviously, if they're entertaining you, that's worth something. But when I see people say donating $100 or stuff like that, it's like, man, unless you're some really rich kid, like, I really hope you're not, barely making ends meet and you're throwing $100 at somebody. Like, because come on, I don't care what your message is, like, oh, well, you really made a big change in my life and that kind of stuff. Sure, but understand that you also do need to make sure you're taking care of yourself still. I think that's still priority number one. But aside from all that, there's obviously really good content out there, and maybe I'm just not finding it. And I think at the same time, it's always very possible that I'm just looking in the wrong place. And at the end of the day, even if that's not the case, it could literally just be that it's not for me. It doesn't bother me that it's not for me if that's the case. You know, I got other stuff I can watch. There's plenty of other stuff I can do. I can listen to podcasts, for example. And yeah, sure, there's a lot of that's just chit chat. But at the same time, that's something that I can just have in my ear while I'm like grinding in Destiny or playing Monster Hunter or doing whatever the fuck, right? Whereas I feel like with streaming, generally speaking, I'd be wanting to watch what's on the screen and not be able to multitask it too good. So that's tough. I find with podcasting it works out perfectly because it's something that I can just have in my ear and my eyes can be elsewhere. So it works out that way. Streaming just doesn't seem to do that for me, and eSports especially wouldn't be doing that because the whole point of watching eSports is to watch the game. So that's just how I am on that. You know, I'd love to know what you guys are, because I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of you watching that are like, man, I love watching like this guy on Twitch, or I love watching, you know, the Overwatch League, or people playing StarCraft, or whatever the fuck, you know. I'd love to know what really keeps you guys going and what has you guys watching as much as you might, you know. And if you're the opposite, if you're just like me, I'd love to know like what are your reasons behind it and that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.